Voice Your Place Slatina is an audio guide narrated by teenagers about the built heritage of their town. Thank you for visiting our city and listening to our audio guide.
Welcome to Slatina's Old Center. Slatina appeared at the crossroads of two important trade routes, from east to west, connecting Asia to Western Europe, and from north to south, connecting Central Europe to the Balkans. In addition, as this was the only place where the river Olt could be easily crossed, it was the ideal place to create a customs point, to assess and tax the goods transported through Wallachia. The very first mention of the settlement is linked to its commercial profile. In 1368, ruler Vladislav I Vlaicu issued a document giving merchants from Brașov, in the Hungarian kingdom, the right not to pay customs tax in Slatina. The oldest part of the city appeared and evolved on the banks of the river Olt, between three hills that still enclose the old center, Grădiște, Caloianca, and Sopot. According to travelers passing through Slatina over the centuries, although the town was spread out, most of the buildings were located in the area between the streets Eminescu, Ionașcu, and Dinu Lipati. Eminescu Street used to be called Bucharest Street, as it was the main road to the capital of Wallachia. Ionașcu Street bears the name of an 18th century boyar, whose donations were used to build the first school, the first hospital, and the cathedral in Slatina. Lipscan Street, the most important commercial road in the historical center, shares a name with a famous street in Bucharest, where merchants sold goods brought from the German city of Leipzig, known at the time in Romania as Lipska.
For a long time, most of the buildings in the old center were made of wood, as they were everywhere else in Wallachia. This made them vulnerable to fires. Sometimes, fires were used as punishment. For example, when the Ottomans set fire to Slatina after Tudor Vladimirescu's revolt in 1821. Other times they were accidental, as was the case with the Great Fire of 1833. In the second half of the 19th century, wooden buildings were replaced by today's brick ones. This is linked to a period of prosperity in the history of Slatina and, at the national level, to the union between Wallachia and Moldavia and the achievement of political and economic independence from the Ottoman Empire. The old center dates back to the end of the 19th century and has the standard image of a town of merchants and craftsmen. According to a census from the era, Slatina had a population of 7,500 people, of which 306 craftsmen and 453 merchants. The latter even organized themselves into a chamber of commerce to promote the interest of Slatina's merchants at national and international level. Many merchants also distinguished themselves through philanthropic acts, contributing to the project of building a nation and modernizing the country.
Most of the buildings in the old center consist of ground floor spaces meant for commercial purposes, and rooms on the first floor, meant to be rented or inhabited by the owner's family. Facade decorations were similar to those of other European cities at the time, reflecting the inhabitants' aspirations to be in tune with the rest of Europe. Many buildings are decorated in an eclectic style, using a mixture of elements from Greek and Roman antiquity, such as columns, pediments, balusters, carved garlands, and faces. These are matched with elements showing modernity and industrial performance, such as wrought iron balconies and glass and metal awnings. Three of the most spectacular examples of eclectic architecture in the Old Center are the Old County Museum, Fântâneanu House, and Hanciu House. From the 20th century onwards, some buildings began to be decorated in the Neo-Romanian style. no longer using ornaments taken from Greek and Roman antiquity, but from Romania's past, from royal palaces, manor houses, monasteries, churches, and peasant houses. Initially regarded with skepticism by a society with Western aspirations, the Neo-Romanian soon became the national style. It was first used by the state in public buildings such as town halls, schools, and hospitals, then adopted by people who wanted to show their patriotism. Among the elements used by the Neo-Romanian style are the three-lobed arches, the stout columns, the carved vegetation panels, the wooden awnings, and the towers. There are also Art Deco buildings in the old center, with little decoration designed in a geometric fashion, as well as modernist buildings. The latter are characterized by the simplicity of the forms and the elegance of the composition, reflecting the tastes and aspirations of early 20th century society.
After the Second World War, the communist authorities erected several working-class neighborhoods to the east of Slatina and sought to relocate the city center. To this end, they tried to create a new civic center in the area now called Esplanada, where you can admire the Trade Union's House of Culture, a remarkable example of brutalist architecture. Despite this, Slatina's old center began to fall into ruin only in the 90s. The historic center is the oldest part of the city, preserving the 19th century image of Slatina, a key stage in the development and identity of Slatina today.
This text was narrated by
Elena Duminică
and by
Sanda.
I was on a class field trip, and, in a moment of distraction, I ended up alone on an abandoned street. I had never been to that part of town before, and the old buildings seemed to frown at me, full of cracks and exposed bricks.
You've been listening to short extracts from our stories written during the creative writing workshop. The buildings that you have visited have a special meaning for us. The stories speak about us and our connection to these places. If you're curious about them, we invite you to read them in full on our website. The audio guide was recorded by teenagers during the Voice Your Place Slatina 2025 workshops.